I'll get up on what is going to be probably a little bit of a different Monday, Preston Thorne. It's not Monday morning therapy. Some of it will be a eat crow Monday for some people. Some people will just roll right along from your vibe check from Friday of let's go. A lot of O's in there for a lot more people as a entirely different feeling after this past Saturday's 31-6 beating of Kentucky that I'll be honest, and I don't think we were joking, but maybe we joked a little, but we were also being serious about it being a rivalry game with Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Have you read any yesterday? Basically the recap from the Kentucky side of things.
I've been deep in blue territory. Deep in blue territory. Let me tell you something. Meltdown mania is happening all across every Kentucky's website that I've seen. The worst. Disastrous.
That program's past us is a common theme, and there is an acceptance for both of these teams, both of these programs, to go where they want to go in this league. It requires them being above the other. And, I mean, I've seen one Kentucky. We might get into a little bit of just reading this morning because two beat writers have called it the worst game they've ever covered, and that includes a loss like in 2021 to Vanderbilt at Lexington, Kentucky. They are not handling this well at all, what occurred on Saturday.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't handle this well. That was a terrible performance. That was inexcusable. I want to say off top, everybody, we should be very happy, but I'm here to tell you right now, Kentucky's worse than Old Dominion. However you want to feel, Kentucky's worse than Old Dominion.
Okay.
I'm going to say that right now.
I mean, they're
terrible.
It was an impressive defensive performance by South Carolina. South Carolina's defense had a lot to do with that, but you're right about that. And then South Carolina's offense does enough, makes the plays just when it has to, avoids absolutely disastrous plays, a couple strip sacks that Kentucky couldn't jump on, an interception right before the half that could have maybe changed the momentum of the game, even tied it up if Kentucky had done things right. But it appears we can officially say, I think most people officially said it after game one. I kind of wanted to hold you said 3 games.
I'm still there.
Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard, though, are a tandem. They're a beast.
Oh, yeah. We can
like
do
that. I think we can officially go in and say that those two guys are absolute dudes at their positions.
Well, last Monday during Thorns, Buds, and Roses, I told everybody, I said that Dylan Stewart will break Jadeveon Clowney's freshman sack record, and we are well on way to getting that done.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that I think you can come out of Saturday and go, okay, that I am now confident with. There are still things that you come out of Saturday going, all right, need to learn a little bit more. Big one this weekend, obviously, and we'll slowly transition into LSU coming to town. Yeah, how many of you 7 days ago at 6:04 would have said, oh, yeah, game day in town for South Carolina LSU.
Book it.
Reserve my spot out there at Gamecock Park where they will have game day warming up. I'm guessing, given that it's a noon game, they'll do this little tried and true trick that they do, which is at about 11:20, about 11:15, they'll run one of those big sappy segments that'll have you, if you're watching it, you'll cry a little bit, and they'll transition everybody into the stadium so that as game day is wrapping up, the football game is about to take place, and you'll see that thing kind of where game day comes to its conclusion, and the next thing you know, South Carolina's running out to 2001, and we go right into the game.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's always awesome to have our program, our city, our state on the national platform, so this is a really good chance to advertise all of those improvements that have happened down at that place since the last time the game day has been here. It's been
2014.
Drastically improved down there, so it's going to be really cool for folks to get a chance to see what we are fortunate enough to see on a weekly basis.
So we will obviously recap, though, what occurred up in Lexington, Kentucky on Saturday as South kind of goes up there. And look, I didn't see 31-6. Now, again, it got there in a variety of different ways. Some big offensive plays, timely, big, long offensive plays that moved the ball down the field. as you just said, some complete busted coverages from Kentucky that left Mazeo Bennett.
They're terrible. Basically
standing by himself on the football field, and a touchdown for him. Lenore Sellers made, I thought, steps forward. I don't think he stayed in the same place that I saw him against Old Dominion. I don't think he turned into the Heisman Award-winning quarterback that maybe we predicted after the spring game.
It's a slow burn, Bill. It's a slow burn.
He's got the marathon approach, but he made some strides forward. And then the defense, we'll see. We will see. LSU's not a juggernaut. LSU's not the world beater that they have been in the past. And one thing that I've kind of seen from them is there's a question about how physical they are as a football program under Brian Kelly. And that is something, Preston, you played LSU twice in your time. That's something I've always thought of LSU as someone that is physically dominant, that just comes in and just physically goes after you, and you leave bumped and bruised and banged up after the LSU game.
Yeah, but this ain't that.
Exactly.
That was Nick Saban.
True. That's a good point on it. Well, they've had an Ed Orgeron that South Carolina has come across, and TJ Finley, but we will transition more into the LSU game, but it's a little hard not to look ahead just yet, but we will look back at the game that was Saturday up there again in Lexington, Kentucky, as South Carolina goes in at least where I looked at kickoff at about, about 3:21. Kentucky was favored by 9.5 points, depending on where it had dropped just below double digits. Maybe some of y'all still saw it at double digits, but Preston, it was, look, say what you want about Kentucky. When I left here on Friday, I had come to the conclusion this was a coaching game. This was one that would tell me about Shane Beamer and this staff and how they coached and how they made adjustments and how they motivated and everything. And they get an A+. I don't care if Kentucky – I've seen South Carolina struggle against bad teams. I've seen them go on the road to East Carolina and have to kick a last-second field goal. Last week against Old Dominion was not attractive. This, to me, was a very nice statement that they've got to follow up with. It's a one-week thing, but a very nice statement for the coaching staff.
I agree with the idea that it was a coaching game, but I think my accusation is that Kentucky is the worst coach team that you will see this year. They may improve. That was absolute garbage. I'm not doing Big Blue Radio live from Lexington here, but, man, I would love to hear what those folks are saying about that performance. And so, yes, it was a coaching game, and Shane Beamer and company were far, far more prepared and well-coached than Kentucky staff. That was absolutely atrocious.
And kudos to Shane Beamer and his staff for being prepared for this game, for giving Lenore Sellers a game plan that fit his style, for, again, having just enough kind of in the – I know 25 points is a lot, but just enough in the tank there to roll by Kentucky. Reestablish three straight? Have we –
It's a thing.
And
we're
this
back.
one, yeah.
Domination.
Okay.
We're back in dominating this thing.
So
I had a repeat text that I've been sending every year with this particular series. At halftime in these past 3 games, the score has been 10-6, 7-7, and 10-7. And then basically South Carolina goes out in the second half of this series and exposes Kentucky. And this has been a thing. We are officially past Kentucky at this moment.
Good call.
And Mark Stoops and the trajectory of that program, all I'm going to say is at least we ain't.
At least we have. There's a couple others we can get to.
For sure.
An entertaining weekend of college football. We'll break it all down. We'll decide what we saw. Hear from you and what you saw as well. A lot of people maybe on the text line might have to admit a little bit of false narrative, a little bit of guilt this morning after what they said last week. And then Wednesday or late Tuesday, late tomorrow at about 8:30, we'll start to transition and look ahead to the big game against LSU, who's banged up themselves, who lost another big player this weekend. We'll tell you more about that as we go through the week. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Joe wants to be the first to weigh in this morning. Joe, how you doing? What's on your mind?
What's going on, fellas? Good morning, man. I got one word for today when it comes to this South Carolina football team from last week until now. It's called growth. Last week I said that I would consider that Old Dominion game like a scrimmage. I just wanted to see how much we would improve from last Saturday to this Saturday. And we improved a lot on the offensive side of the ball. I thought the offensive line blocked better. I thought Lenore's settlers looked more comfortable in the pocket. I thought he made better decisions. He didn't look rattled at all. And he made one bad pass. You could tell when he came off the sideline that he knew what he did wrong. And he played good ball for the rest of the game. And I look forward for this growth week by week. And I think they will grow. Be on notice, America, about South Carolina's defense. I think we have the two best defensive ends in the country. And I just like to hear you guys talk about it, man. Great game Saturday. Go Gamecocks.
Appreciate the phone call, Joe. We will definitely, the defensive guru to my left here, Preston, will definitely always get the football hands already warming up. We'll let him get into a lot of that coming up here this morning and talk about that defense, talk about those particular defensive ends. He's got some numbers that he can get into a little bit. Let's get back to the phone lines for just a second. Gamecock Larry wants to weigh in this morning. Gamecock Larry, how you feeling?
Well, I feel good. I told you we was going to get 34. We didn't. We missed it by 3. I thought sure Kentucky would get more than that, but it didn't. I mean, our defense played lights out. And good offense played right. But old Rudolph done call me crying. Oh, the Gamecocks this, Gamecocks that. They got lucky. Let me tell you, Rudolph, I'm going to tell you something going to surprise you. 2 down, 10 to go. 12-0 in 2024. Waiting on your LSU. And let me tell you, Wildcat Sammy dropped by Saturday afternoon. Wildcat Sammy give me 14 points. Wildcat Sammy, I got my Gamecock cap. I got my Gamecock jacket. I got my Gamecock shirt. I got my Gamecock pants. I got my Gamecock shoes. I got my Gamecock socks. I want to dress you up, take a picture with you, and put it on Facebook, buddy. And I could not be dressed like that in a Wildcat outfit, and we showed you. Boy, I wasn't worried, but I'll tell you what, 14 points. We scored 31. That's 45. 45 to 6. And you gave me 14 points. So, Wildcat Stanley, come on by. I got my stuff ready for you, buddy. And, my dragster rider, he went up to somewhere in North Carolina, and he showed out again, Jace. But I that's all I got to say. I don't know how the rest of the sports team done for the Gamecocks this weekend. But Gamecocks is on the way, and I'm going to tell you, LSU coming to town. Game day coming to town. We going to have a ball. Love all y'all. Look at you.
There you go. So, yeah, a lot of excitement this morning here. I'll end the first segment just to be Debbie Downer. If you're a Panthers fan, go back to bed. Woo. Call it a season. Or find a new team. I don't know. Do something but root for the Panthers.
Yeah, it might be rough. Let me just tell something I saw on Twitter. At one point, the Panthers had broken the record for 9 consecutive quarters without scoring.
Yeah, without scoring. Not a touchdown. Like scoring. No scores whatsoever.
And by the way, they broke that streak with a very long field goal with 2 seconds left to go in the first half.
Yeah. If you're a Panthers, we'll try and keep it somewhat tame here. If we're feeling too good about ourselves, we'll just remember you could be a Panthers fan. 803-404-6100. We'll stay on the phone lines. We'll get to the text lines, and we'll let Preston break down some of that defense. You're listening to the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. The demolition that was done in our kitchen, flawless experience with CHW Cabinetry. They helped us figure out what we want to do as far as our layout was concerned, pick the accessories, and the photorealistic rendering that I've talked about so much. It was huge because it was able to be taken into different stores for us, and we were able to go find flooring that would match and a countertop, backsplash, and all of that. But recently, we needed to replace a cabinet and a bathroom. They were fantastic in that experience as well. You can do things like replace wire hanging racks in your closets, maybe get a few drawers put in there. Maybe your pantry needs to be just a little bit more functional, get some drawers put in there. So many things they can do for functionality improvement in your home, maybe even a home office workspace. Visit chwcabinetry.com or call them at 803-520-6837. And, of course, be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. Coming into Columbia, I-26 eastbound at exit 91. 2 lanes are currently blocked, so allow for a little extra time as you make your way into Columbia. I-26 eastbound at exit 91. Forecast looking great. Sunny skies today and tomorrow. 83 for the high today, 86 tomorrow, back to 83 on Wednesday. And then to round out the week, a couple showers possible and highs in the upper 80s. At first glance, maybe a couple scattered showers on Saturday, but hope to push that off, and maybe that forecast will change, hopefully, before Saturday comes. But right now, it's a little bit cool, 63 on the early game.
6:21 on a Monday morning where these texts, hold up. Now, maybe again.
Victory Monday.
Victory Monday. As I said, stay with it. You couldn't, on Friday, you had to be behind the team until 3:30. And at 3:30, once the ball was kicked, okay, then you could kind of go whatever direction you wanted to go.
3:45. The SEC has a little bit of.
Oh, is it?
They struggle.
Okay, yeah.
They struggle with time a little bit.
Well, we were going down a path with Arkansas and Oklahoma State.
Well, that's other thing.
We were going down a path where Arkansas and Oklahoma State were engaged in a fun little shootout there in Stillwater.
I was very conflicted on that one. Very conflicted because, man, I just don't want to see Bobby Petrino be successful, and yet here we are.
Well, we'll get to the big picture there, look around, but real quick, couple of text messengers weighing in. This is Parker from Blythewood, says Coach Thorne. Says, I know watching Dylan Stewart gets you all giddy. His dip and rip move is elite. How hard is that for an offensive line to block? He's been very impressive.
Yeah, Parker, what's up, man? Good to hear from you. That move is something that many advanced pass rushers do not get. So to see a freshman be able to do that at such an early stage of his career is obviously promising.
We'll talk more about that. We'll let you get into that. 803-404-6100. Back out to the phone lines where Chris wants to weigh in this morning on the Kentucky game. Chris, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Doing good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for the season tickets I won at the golf tournament the other week.
There you go. Might still be a good time to have those. This weekend should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was about to get rid of those, but I think I changed my mind this weekend. And I'll be heading there. I just had a hot take. Crazy. South Carolina never relinquishes the lead of the SEC.
That is a hot take.
Wire to wire?
That is a scorching hot take. Yes.
Wire to wire.
You are accomplishing at 6:23 a scorching hot take.
This is the time to do it. We have this moment. Take the opportunity to do it.
That's right.
Let's get it out there. Staying with Gamecock Larry's optimism.
That's right. That's right, Chris. Well, glad you won those tickets. Glad you're keeping them, or at least for this weekend. Good to hear from you.
Yep. Take care.
Take care. 803-404-6100. Let's get one more, and let's go back out where Ray wants to weigh in this morning. Ray, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Hey, guys, I got to call in. Last week I was very critical of the run blocking. Wow, I don't know where to start. First, I got to say, defense, probably the most dominant game I've seen in a long time by our defense. Golly, Stewart, did you guys see the play where he went through three guys? I mean, he was triple teamed, and he pushed those guys back and came with a scintilla getting the quarterback. They had three guys on him. He went through them. I mean, he is probably as NFL ready as a freshman we've had since a number 7 about 10 years ago. But talking about number 7, Nick, I never can say his name, like Eman Warrior. His body almost looks NFL ready now. I mean, he looks like he has really worked his body. I mean, he looks like lean muscles, and golly, he looks so good out there. But that defense just kicks some behind. And I'll tell you, that third quarter was so fun to watch because the second quarter, we were like, oh, goodness, here's our offense go again. But in the third quarter, they made some adjustments, and you notice they put the tight end in the backfield like a lot of teams do and use that tight end as like a fullback or like a pulling guard. And it opened the holes. And I thought Rocket Sanders, that third quarter, his game was on, but he had some blocking and he had some holes. And after the third quarter, we didn't really need him anymore. I think that was really smart to take him out. But, man, just a great win by the Gamecocks. And you know what they gave us? They gave us hope. So right now we got hope. And they'll say it, coaches always use this kind of their excuse. But sometimes it works out that way. It did this time where your most improvements from game 1 to game 2. But, man, what a game. Really enjoy watching it. But thanks, guys, for letting me talk.
Appreciate the phone call.
Appreciate it, Ray. You said they gave us hope, which when I read some of the Kentucky, the exact phrase was a loss of hope. So that was the game of hope, I think. And it wasn't a loser leaves town. Loser loses hope.
No, the more I read yesterday, especially post-game, I feel like we kind of knew it, but they didn't openly admit it, was the importance of this game for Kentucky and the way they had this circled. And there was one player in particular that basically said that Kentucky, I'm quoting him, said we didn't get beat last year by South Carolina. We beat ourselves. We left plays on the field, and we wanted to avenge that. They had this game circled. It was packed out. I believe I saw it was Justin King who put a video out where Kentucky's fan. This isn't going away. Had the stupid sunglasses, and they were ready in the student section, and it was complete and utter fail. And I think it was Mark Stoops who mentioned something similar to that as well. But Preston, those defensive ends, we'll start there. What Parker brought up and just what you saw defensively.
Yeah, I mean, not going to say anything that anybody else hasn't said, but we can just attack with numbers. The biggest number that I would say is that right now the defensive line has 10 sacks in 2 games, when last year we had 21 in a season.
Right.
10 in 2, 21 in 12.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a marked difference in the level of play in the defensive line, and that's just not just from the defensive ends, but your interior tackles are playing well. There does seem to be the rotation that they told us about in the preseason. Those guys are playing tremendous. But yeah, to that point, 5 sacks against a game. And anytime you have defensive ends that can just line up and make a play on a third down, you're going to have a chance to win some games. And we've seen like we have that.
You mentioned Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart, and you mentioned Dylan Stewart and that freshman sack record. Through 2 games, 2.5 sacks right now. Mm-hmm. 2 forced fumbles at this point in time for him. And then Kyle Kennard, who also had himself 1 sack. Kyle Kennard's stat line, by the way, as well as he played, just 1 tackle on Saturday. It wasn't like he went out there and just chewed him up, but the pressure he causes, which Preston defensively is different because sometimes it didn't show up on the box score. But Kyle Kennard now with 3.5 sacks. So your 2 edge guys, as you just mentioned, sitting there with 6 of those 10 sacks on the season. But the pressure that those 2 are generating that maybe doesn't show up in the actual stats there with no tackles, but just getting pressure and forcing things to happen.
Yeah, we'll see that. One of my favorite play was sometime, I believe it was during that third quarter, where essentially you had Dylan Stewart and Tonka Hemingway being held. It was not called, and somebody else, I think maybe Kyle, came around and still got the sack eventually. And it just saw a relentless pressure that we haven't seen around here in a very long time.
803-404-6100. KT from Lexington weighed in last Friday at 8:03. Said after watching last week's blunder, 31-17, House Cats find some joy. He has already responded this morning. Good job, KT. I myself had a false narrative. I will gladly have some crow. So there you go. Look, did I think South Carolina might win? Yes. Did I think that they would? Did I think that it would be like that where it was just complete? You mentioned the stats. Brock Vandegrift, 3 of 10, 30 yards passing on Saturday.
Even better than that. Minus 29 yards rushing, which is due to the sack. So Brock Vandegrift had a total of 1 yard. Total offense.
Lovely. Lovely. And Kentucky fans this morning, yes, we'll try and get you some of
the rare stat line where you have equal amount of interceptions to yards.
Ooh, that's a rough stat line. That's not a good quarterback rating. 803-404-6100. We'll get into a few other numbers, and we will also talk about good, better, best. We'll let Preston Thorne break it down. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Integrated Media. The season, it's week 2 already, going into week 3. So what are you waiting for? Before you know it, we'll be in time for the winter. Get yourself prepared. You can get an outdoor setup ready. What do you get on the outdoor setup? You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music, or Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. My personal favorite, you can control all your devices from just one remote. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. Call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
Earlier accidents have been cleared. Great news there. And as far as your forecast goes, that's also some pretty good news. 83 today, 86 tomorrow, back to 83 on Wednesday. Pattern of showers could start in on Thursday. Right now, though, it's a little bit overcast and 63 on the early game.
Now he's got the sunlight right in his face. facing the west part of the stadium. Fakes inside, going to roll left. Trying to go down the field and into coverage and picked off at the 30-yard line and turning the corner at the 20. At the 10, that's even worry. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Touchdown, Nick Even worry.
No flags.
25 yards out. Big Blue is going from the bleachers to the parking lot right now with 14:49 to go in the ball game.
I was I can't help it, right? As I started this segment, I'm on Twitter, X, and it's transfer portal. And it says, "Good morning to Florida State fans, and congrats on your first Monday not following a loss." And it made me think, as Todd Ellis is celebrating there, yeah, South Carolina now 2-0 in a game that we had circled as a monster game for the program, for bowl eligibility, for what South Carolina wants to accomplish this season. Now it's one game. There's 10 more to go. The competition level, as Preston Thorne has pointed out, is going to increase significantly.
Maybe.
Well, no. There's at least two coming in October.
You're right.
That will increase, at least two. Oklahoma had all kinds of problems with Houston this weekend. 16-12, needed a safety in the fourth quarter to put it out of field goal range, and Houston's not very good this year. But this was certainly a big one, Preston Thorne, and one that South Carolina needed again. I'll say it from a confidence standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. There's a lot that just makes you feel good here on a Monday. It makes you felt great on Saturday evening, on Sunday, going to church or doing whatever you did, and then today waking up and now knowing that South Carolina will have the eyes of the nation on them starting at 9 a.m. Saturday morning when College Game Day originates from Gamecock Park there right across from the stadium.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome, man. Again, I was just saying it's really cool to get a chance to showcase the town, the city, the school, all of us, the state. And so it's going to be a really awesome opportunity. But as you stated, it's better to wake up winning than some of these words. And these are just words that I've just picked out. Embarrassing, disgraceful, disastrous, collapse, suffering. These are some words that I picked out from reading through some of the Kentucky beat writers, and these are ones that weren't even behind paywalls. These are the free ones. So yeah, they are in a tizzy right now, and they should be, because that performance was absolutely disgusting as just a football performance.
Offensively, for South Carolina, they called the right plays at the right times. Offensive line was better. Everything was a little better. The defense appears to be there's some stuff there that right now through 8 quarters of football. I know you had the 2 big blown coverages there against Old Dominion, but at least through 8 quarters, Preston, they've been able to kind of back up some of the things they wanted to discuss, they wanted to do this year, and talking about it throughout the summer.
Hey, when I'm wrong. I'll say that. But, Bill, we had inside intel, and you talk about the offensive line being better. Torricelli Simpkins, highest grade out, played all 53 snaps. I told you all, we had intel that we knew this player was going to be good. And so when we think and start talking about transfer portal or guys coming in, I just advise everybody, don't get wowed by the schools that they're coming from. Be more specific on the player that is coming, because Torricelli Simpkins obviously coming from North Carolina Central. HBCU, people might have said, what's that? We're not winning that. But obviously he is playing extremely well and was one of the captains on Saturday afternoon. So what Shane and company have done through the transfer portal seems to be paying off very well right now.
And again, they've got to continue to get better. And they'll be challenged this week. They come back home. It's interesting that I think a lot of people felt that they went on the road this past week, and maybe that was a good thing to get away from the home crowd, to kind of hunker down. You go and you do whatever it is you do. You go through your walkthrough, you go through your hotel night where maybe there's a movie, but you're all kind of together. There's that sense of camaraderie. We're in it together. We're on a business trip, if you will. And then you go out and you play. Now you come back home to what should be a very loving atmosphere throughout the week. They should be wandering through the Russell House, getting something to eat or something, and people patting them on the back and telling them great job. And then they'll go out there on Saturday, and at least early on, they're going to be greeted by a huge roar when they run out to 2001 and a very amped up crowd at Williams-Brice Stadium. And so maybe it's a great thing now for them to take their next step to show more improvement now, having confidence in what they're doing.
Yeah, being able to play with the wind behind them per se at the home stadium will be fun to see. But yeah, this game was, as Bill, you said earlier, and I don't think we can stress it enough, it was a referendum on coaching. And Kentucky was ill-prepared, undisciplined, and what you saw from Shane Beamer's team was a team that is figuring out their identity. And, they have some clips that we'll talk about that. They're figuring out their identity, and they played to that. And it looks like we're figuring out what the recipes for success will be for this team.
I like what you read. This was from Kentucky cornerback J.Q. Hardaway, who said, he said this last week leading up to the game, we've got this game circled on our calendar for sure. We're not taking these guys lightly at all. We're respecting our opponent. We're training. We're trying to come out here and just give a good outing for the fans. We've got a bad taste in our mouth from last year, so we've got something to prove, is what one of the defensive backs had to say. I was looking for the exact quote where, again, this goes back. This is from Aaron Gershon with Cats Paws 247. And it says the Cats have lost 2 in a row. This was after the game. The Cats have lost 2 in a row to South Carolina since Stoops and Shane Beamer's seemingly public feud stemming from comments at SEC Media Day in 2022. It says before the 3-game losing streak, UK had beaten the Gamecocks in 7 of 8. And then it goes on to say, unfortunately, not only did Big Blue Nation watch its team lose, but it watched it get exposed and embarrassed.
Again, these words are coming in very, very strong. So, Texas, 803-404-6100. We're going to do good, better, best. What was good on Saturday? What can be better? And what was the best thing that you saw? You can just type it in. You can type in either one. You can type in all three. You can type in one of the three. What was good? What could be better, or what needs to be better? And what was the best thing you saw on Saturday? Bill, can you go through that? What was good? What needs to be better? What was the best thing you saw on Saturday?
The good was, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but the special teams. Kai Kroger, don't let his performance get lost in this. Shane Beamer talked a little bit about his performance. He hit some incredible punts. The South Carolina kickoff coverage was great. I thought they did a good job in punt return on Saturday. That was pretty good. That's something, look, South Carolina has to have good special teams, and so far on the season, Alex Herrera has done a good job with field goals. You've also been able, again, Kai Kroger looked like the Kai Kroger of old. He had several really good punts. That was good. What has to be better? He was good on Saturday, but Lenora Sellers has to keep improving. He's got to get better with ball security there. He had a couple strip sacks that could have, again, changed the momentum of that game dramatically, if not for the efforts. I believe it was Josh Simon and Michael Smith who jumped on them. I believe one of them they picked up and ran for about 5 yards. So maybe Kentucky was surprised to get the strip sack just as well. But he's got to just continue to improve. He's got to continue to improve. Saturday can't be the pinnacle of his season. And then best, defense. That defense, absolutely swarming, absolutely phenomenal. Highlighted there by the pick six by Nick Eamon-Warry and several big hits they put on the Kentucky offensive players. 803-404-6100. Send in your good, better, best, and we will get to those as we roll along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzy at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for its clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience in closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Since 1997, Benji and his team have served thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing. And Buford Lending specializes in DSR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, and USDA government loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing. They also conventional and construction lending. Benji has helped over 8,000 families experience the dream of ownership. So call Benji Getzy at 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
.649 as we get you up and get you going on a Monday morning. That'll be a fun week. And Preston, we've talked a lot about the football game.
Winning Monday, victory Monday.
That's a great way to put it, because let me tell you something. It wasn't just related to South Carolina football. Tony Annan's team with a 2-1 victory over Belmont on Saturday night, and they will have another contest coming up on Tuesday against USC Upstate. But I will say, as I read in the notes from the soccer team, they are now 2-0-2, longest unbeaten streak or longest streak of scoring a point. You get 1 point for a tie, you get 3 for a victory, but the longest streak for Tony Annan's team and for South Carolina soccer in 20 years. So great start. Not even a good start. It's a great start for Tony's team there, as they are off and running again. 2-1 victory over Belmont. They'll get USC Upstate coming up tomorrow night over at the Graveyard. You can get out and check that out. Also over the weekend, you mentioned a winning Monday. Volleyball. Nice 2-0 weekend. They take down Temple on Friday night and then also follow that up by beating up on Chapel Hill and North Carolina yesterday with a 3-0, with 3-0 sets there, victory. So good for them as well. And Rob Bradley, new golf coach, they went to a tournament in Knoxville. I forget the actual name of it. I don't want to say the Knoxville Collegiate Tournament, and they finished in a tie for third this weekend. So new coach Rob Bradley. So a winning weekend. A very good way to describe it there is men's soccer moves to 2-0-2. I need to check with Coach Annan on that Jacksonville game that they are up 3-0 on at halftime and figure out what the status is that, because they really should be 3-0-2. They were going to win that one. And I don't know how that will be played as they move through the rest of the year, but great weekend for him. Great weekend for volleyball.
I don't know how this works in soccer, but if I could get my Dabble Sweeney on, I feel like we could be very close to 5-0. I don't know if we do plays or kicks or what you do.
One goal away. 2 goals away. 2 goals
away, and they're right. Seriously, they're right there.
And I think he'd tell you they really had that North Florida game. They were up 2-0 with 10 minutes to go So yeah, his team off to a very
up
good
against
start.
Clemson also.
And they've been very good so far. So I know he's happy. But I need to check with him on that Jacksonville game and find out how that is going to kind of play out. Because again, they're up 3-0. If that's I've seen it postponed, and I don't know if in soccer for budget costs, if they'll make them travel back down there for a 45-minute game.
I feel like that's going to be a no. I feel like.
So
I don't know.
Check with him. 803-404-6100. Let's get back out to the phone lines. Jose wants to weigh in. How you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing this morning?
Very good.
Here's my question. I'll keep it short. First of all, first-time caller, long-time listener. Very long-time listener.
All right.
So, in reference to the sacks in the Kentucky game with Lenore Sellers, do you think those goggles might be interfering with peripheral vision? That's all the question I had to have. What do y'all think about that? And I'll hang up and listen to what y'all have to say. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate your call. Appreciate you listening. I've seen this starting to bubble up on the internets a little bit with arrows and diagrams. My only thing is that I'm assuming that he's playing with the same goggles that he's always played with, and so I don't know what the adjustment or technology is. I will say this: it does seem like he needs to work on his feel in the pocket a little bit. Like he's holding on to the ball maybe a split second too long, not feeling when that pressure is coming, and that's something that you've developed as a quarterback. So I don't know about the peripheral vision. I assume he's playing with the same goggles he's always played with, but you never know.
Is it possible? He's a big kid. I mean, we know that. In high school, there wasn't many kids his size.
I like where you're going with this.
And that he just physically, but he's gone through a year of college football, even as a scout team quarterback. But I don't know if there's something to them thinking like, oh, I'm just physically bigger as he has been for most of his life, that now you get hit by an SEC defensive lineman who might be 23, might be 24, might have 2 kids, a mortgage, a daycare bill, like a little bit more different physical dynamic when you get hit in the SEC.
Yeah, that's also thing. And to build on top of that, when he's practicing with the first team, he's not traditionally live. Oh. And so you might just be a split second off. Like one of those sacks, you felt like you could see yourself. I'm sure I wasn't the only one watching, like, okay, here, ooh, you could see it coming, and it felt like he didn't feel it.
Yeah.
When more seasoned quarterbacks will, but I think that's something that will develop.
803-404-6100. I continue to read because we're going to do this a little bit. Good, better, best, but also this comes from catspaws.com. This was in their predictions prior to the game on Saturday. This is from Daryl Bird, who picked Kentucky 35-13. He said, past tense, it's a must-win, and Kentucky does, spanking the smart-mouth Gamecocks 35-13 behind 4 passing touchdowns from Brock Vandagriff.
Well, Brock Vandagriff had 1 yard.
He had 3 completions, and Daryl Bird called for 4 touchdowns. But, again, smart-mouthed Gamecocks.
We'll take it.
We'll continue to read some of those.
We own you, Kentucky. I hope you're listening.
We'll continue to read you some of those predictions. We hadn't heard from Kentucky Joe yet. There's 2 more hours. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank, which is locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. And right now they have an incredible offer if you're looking into moving to Richland County. Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor, where right now First Palmetto Bank and Jacob Crowder are offering a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. That's right. They are offering 100% purchase loans at 4.99% on a 30-year fixed mortgage. No points, no mortgage insurance, no gimmicks, just lower payments. For more information, call Jacob Crowder, the Mortgage Guru, today and get this information and how it can benefit you. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Call the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
And the traffic situation out there this morning, don't really have any slowdowns to speak of. Not seeing any accidents on the board, so that's also good news. And as far as that forecast goes, it's pretty nice for the next several days. We are looking for a high today of 83, 86 tomorrow, 83 on Wednesday, hit the upper 70s for Thursday and Friday, but that's when the pattern of some rain coming in will be happening. We'll keep an eye on things for the week because it looks like about a 50% chance of showers for Saturday. Right now, 63 on the early game.
Up and Adams, 7 a.m. on your Monday morning. Again, a winning Monday. South Carolina football, 31-6 over Kentucky. Men's soccer, 2-1 over Belmont Saturday night. Volleyball, 2 wins. Temple in North Carolina. And I got a text in as well. I should have paid better attention. I apologize, but somebody informed me. I'm trying to go back. We've got a lot of texts. I got to get to some of these good, better, best. But texter says, don't forget, hockey team beat North Carolina this weekend as well.
Shout out to the hockey team. I need one of those sweaters. I need one. And I don't know if we make them in my size, but I need one of those things. I know they come out in limited release, but I want one of those things very badly.
Especially for the room that we're currently in. Sweaters are
Should we text the wife and say, hey, this is a job for you for Christmas?
Yeah, we got to figure something out on that one because I really do want one of those.
We could really use some hockey sweaters to keep people warm on the ice here in this room. 803-404-6100. Again, reminder, we'll stay on Kentucky here for about the next 5 hours here. 3 in this program, 2 tomorrow. And we'll look ahead, but Shane Beamer tomorrow will speak here on 107.5, or he will speak at his weekly press conference, and we will cover it. That'll be tomorrow at 1 o'clock. You can hear from Shane Beamer and what he had to say. 803-404-6100 Back out to the phone lines we go for our weekly Monday segment. And Jamie Bradford, you just heard it. Football was great. Tony Ann and men's soccer was great. Volleyball, they beat up on North Carolina. Always fun to do that. Hockey with the win. Golf in Rob Bradley's first tournament. Finishes 3rd up in Knoxville. All the way around. It's a Gamecock weekend.
Yeah, Coach Tanner's waking up with a smile on his face this morning. You know, if you he doesn't get to do that very often where he wakes up and across the board he sees a bunch of W's. So today will be a good day for Coach Tanner. Coach Tanner, you're in our hearts and minds today. We got your back.
Donuts at the athletic facility for everybody. Just come on in, grab a donut, everybody have a cup of coffee, and go about. Let's keep it rolling, right?
And we actually got an update that the rugby team, men's rugby, also went 2-0 this weekend.
Okay, so, how about that? There you go.
Lots of winning.
Big weekend.
We got
great weekend.
Correspondence on rugby, hockey, everywhere coming in. So, Jamie, it was a weekend. I think it's fair to say, Preston, Jamie, we'll start with this. I think it's fair to say unexpected in how that went. Not that they won, but to completely dominate a Kentucky team that, as we did a lot of talking last week, Jamie, this has been a close series. 16 of the last 24 of these games, dating back to 2000, had been decided by 10 points or less. 14 of those 16 had been decided by a touchdown or less. A lot of these games had gone under a total mark of 40, which it still did on Saturday. But I'm not surprised they won. I'm surprised with the level of dominance that we might have to go back to our old game last year of when did you feel comfortable? When did, like we did that a lot in basketball. Because there's a couple people who have been like, I didn't feel comfortable until the final 3 minutes of this thing. Jamie, how surprised were you with the dominance of the performance?
I don't know that I would use the word surprised. Really, I've said for weeks, months, that this Carolina defense is really good, and I think most people, they were excited to hear that, but apprehensive. Okay, well, let me see that. And I kind of heard all along, from quality people, this isn't just getting on the internet and typing it behind a screen name or something. From quality people, that these guys could take over a football game, and they did that this weekend. And and I'll tell you too, a telltale sign to me of what I thought was going to happen was at the end of the first half when they were trying to score. And I know that, Lenore Sellers, kind of airmailed that throw. He was about a half second too long. Had he let it go before that, he probably would have had a completion. But the confidence they had in this kid let's try to move the football down with under 2 minutes to go. Let's try to go score. And you can tell right there in that moment, all right, they weren't just going to take a knee. I know Kentucky had 2 or 3 timeouts, I think, and I know that they did turn it over. But they weren't just going to try to just run the clock out and let's play this thing safe and get in there and talk. They were there to win the football game. And in that moment, I called Michael Flint and I said, man, something tells me the second half, South Carolina's going to play really good football. Kind of talked through a couple of the things that we thought hopefully that we'd see. And lo and behold, there they were. They've been a dominant second half team thus far in the first 2 games. And, boy, they should be proud of themselves. Look at the spot they put themselves in with College Game Day coming in week 3. Who saw that coming?
Nobody did, and part of that is because it appears that Kentucky was set to get game day for Georgia and Kentucky. I don't know if you guys – it's not a great weekend of football. It's going to be a good weekend, but it's not something spectacular. You got Alabama and Wisconsin at noon on Saturday. You got a few other games that are taking place. But, yes, by all accounts, game day appeared to be scheduled to be in Lexington, Kentucky. So not only did we – beat up on Big Blue and make them question their program and their coach, it appears South Carolina went up there and took game day away from them as well, Preston.
Yeah, they don't deserve to have game day after that performance. And to echo on what Jamie said, I don't think it's surprising that they went out there and won. To me, it was surprising to watch Kentucky collapse the way they did. Now, they didn't collapse for any reason. They collapsed because Gamecocks were putting pressure on them on defense, and then especially some of the calls that Dow made to get those guys open, they put a lot of pressure on them. But I wouldn't have expected Kentucky to collapse the way they did. So they have a lot of things to figure out over there.
Jamie, Preston played in the last segment, 2 segments ago, good, better, best. What was good Saturday? What can be a little bit better this coming Saturday? And what was the best thing you saw? You want to play along there? You got 3 of those for us off the top of your head?
Well, I think it's pretty easy. The best thing we saw is what Carolina does up front on the defensive side of the football. I mean, there's a long ways to go, and probably, the Kentucky offensive line is good. I'm kind of over hearing this whole big blue wall thing. I don't even know where that came from. Like, they've never really been that good, so that's enough. I'm kind of tired of hearing that. They're not a big blue wall. If they were, they got their. I mean, then our guys on the defensive side are NFL Hall of Famers. I mean, that's insane. So they're probably going to see their best test up front this weekend. LSU's offensive line is legit, probably the second best or third best one in the league to Texas. So, that would be the best. I mean, you got to give I'm probably going out of order here, but you got to give a big time hat tip to Kai Kroger, guys. Come on, man. Like, this cat has been trying to find it for a while. He went a little banged up last year, lost some confidence. Last week was okay. This week, averaged 52 yards a punt. I mean, he was hammering the football. And then, of course, what needs to be better, offensively, they continue to chip away and get a little bit better. But perimeter blocking has got to be the tight ends. You can't just keep missing guys out there. They got to figure that out, and they know that. So that would probably be where I fall, although we could probably play this game for the next 50 minutes of this segment too.
No, you nailed the two things the best. The defensive line, the up front, Kennard and Stewart in particular. But really need to give some credit to the big fellas inside that modeled themselves after Preston Thorne. We haven't. Monkel Goodwine got in there, I believe, had half a sack on Saturday. TJ Sander, was it TJ? Was it Tonker? Who was it on the opening drive that pressured Brock Vandergriff very early? He was rolling to his right.
That was TJ.
It was TJ, yeah. TJ. I mean, again, the interior guys have played really, really well. Somebody hit us up earlier on the text line and mentioned how big the Travian Robertson hire is looking right now and what he is starting to do with those talented guys. DeAndre Jules has been very good on the interior as well. These guys maybe, again, don't get the stats that we look at like, wow, 6 tackles, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. But they've been very good at setting the pace. So I was with you on those two. Kai Kroger, it was the other one I mentioned. The way he punted on Saturday was reminiscent of the way he performed in 2022. And then I just went with better trying to develop and grow Lenora Sellers. And the big thing for me, him taking another step this week. Quarters 9, 10, 11, and 12 for Lenora Sellers in this game, continuing to improve, continuing to settle down, continuing to feel comfortable, and also Dow Loggins continuing to put him in positions, Preston, to be successful, which they moved the pocket a little bit on Saturday, that touchdown pass to Mazio Bennett. Didn't see that last week. They kind of faked the handoff to one side, and he spun back and rolled to his left, and Kentucky thought that Mazio Bennett was not allowed to score per NCAA rules and wasn't even close to him.
Yeah, like I said, lot of rightfully so putting pressure on Kentucky to make them make decisions, but that's just not what I would have expected out of that particular team. But it wasn't for no reason. It was because the South Carolina were putting pressure on them through play calling, through formations, through different things. So credit to everybody involved. 803-404-6100. Jamie Bradford joining us as he does always on a Monday morning. We'll get into a little bit more stats and numbers specifically with Jamie and some of the things that maybe South Carolina is starting to show that is their identity. We'll allow Preston and Jamie to discuss that. Also take a look around college football here later on this hour with Jamie and what he saw. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jamie Bradford, Jen Jensen. It's a Monday morning on the early game. Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they'll work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. They will come out to where you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Call the folks at Absolute Glass. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you, too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
And on the highways this morning, things moving along pretty well for your Monday. We hope it stays that way for you, but we're not seeing really any major slowdowns at this point. So good on that front. 83 today will be our high, 86 tomorrow, 83 on Wednesday. Shower activity starting in on Thursday a little bit, with scattered showers possible for the next several days after that. But right now, holding steady at 63 on the early game.
$7:17 as we get you going. Get up, get going, get the kids to school. Always nice to come off of a weekend that was a victory for the Gamecocks, and maybe Kentucky's not any good. Maybe South Carolina made them look that way. Whatever it is, South Carolina's 2-0, and guys, that was a game. Big picture here that South Carolina had circled, that we had circled as a monster game early in the season. And we talked about it. The stats for Shane Beamer were not very attractive in terms of road games. 2-10 in SEC road games during his tenure, and some of those had been blowouts that South Carolina had gotten off to slow starts. This was a team that looked prepared, ready, understood the assignment, and knew the importance of this game as it pertains to the season and kind of rebuilding some momentum. Preston Thorne.
Yeah, and regardless, you felt like this was going to be a dogfight for the whole game. As I said, 10-7 going into halftime. That's what I assumed it was. But as you stated, a referendum on coaching, Shane Beamer's team seemed like they were more prepared, more disciplined, and they were ready to finish this thing in 4 quarters, and they did that.
Jamie?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, first of all, if they play every road game in Lexington, Beamer's undefeated.
That's a good
probably.
point. It's a great point.
So maybe they'll look at doing that in the future. But look, Kentucky. Well, I was talking to a guy from Cat's Paws this past week on the 24/7 network.
Oh, wait a minute. Which one?
Aaron Gershon.
Okay. Hold on. Then let me get to this. Gershon, Kentucky 24-10 in his prediction. No way around it. If Kentucky wants to have a season it desires, it must beat South Carolina on Saturday. The Gamecocks have won 2 in a row over Kentucky, while arguably being the less talented team. But a loss to the South Carolina team would be simply inexcusable. The Gamecocks have a clear lack of talent at wide receiver and across the offensive line. While it will start a redshirt freshman quarterback making both his first SEC and road start, this is a game Kentucky's defense should be dominant, and the offense should be able to do enough to get the victory. That was Aaron Gershon's predict. We've been reading the Cat's Paws predictions, which are pretty entertaining, Jamie. So, all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, it's very similar, to what he said to us. But I also asked him, I said, I feel like this is a very fragile Kentucky program. And he kind of nodded his head. And to elaborate, what I was getting at was, you had the offseason, your head football coach is trying to take a job at A&M. They basically staged a coup to make sure that wouldn't happen. The big money guys did in College Station. He had to stay put. He's been very, very open and critical of all sorts of things, from NIL to transfer portal, et cetera, including critical of his own administration and how much help he needs and how much he has to deal with that he shouldn't deal with, and just all sorts of stuff. And it just felt to me like this is a football program where a lot of the attention is focused on the wrong things. And if it goes off the rails, how far off the rails can it go and how quickly can it get there? And he agreed. He said, I'm with you. He said, I do think it's fragile up here. And if they get beat by the Gamecocks, they have to turn right around. They got to play Georgia, and then their next SEC game after that is against Ole Miss. I mean, it could get ugly very quickly. And so You know, I felt like there were two different teams on the field on Saturday. One of them in Kentucky who was just kind of trying to hang on, in South Carolina who was trying to prove themselves, and we certainly see what happened.
Preston, one of the things I know that you wanted to get into a little bit is South Carolina establishing their identity here. Now, 34 carries, only 86 yards running the football, but as we see this team now starting to develop an identity where do you come from that stance with what you saw South Carolina, what you saw from South Carolina, and what you think they're developing?
Well, it's seemingly consistent with what the reports were out of the preseason. Like Jamie said, this is going to be a team that's based on how their defense plays, and if their defense can go out there and dominate, they can find ways to make some things happen on offense where they're not relying on a redshirt freshman, an offensive line that has some question marks on it. It seems to be a pathway developing towards victories for this team.
Jamie, are you kind of in agreement with that in terms of how you see this team developing right now defensively and maybe taking some of the pressure off of Lenore Sellers?
100%. And as the season goes along, you know, you'll start to see a little bit more weight shifted to the offense. But look, you brought Rocket Sanders in here. He's the best player you've got on offense. You've got to use him, and they did. And to your point on the rushing numbers obviously are going to have to get better. There's no question about that. Like, you can't go all season long, you know, running for 80, 100 yards a game or whatever it is. But at the same time, as that game went along on Saturday, guys, they got yards when they needed to get yards on the ground. If you notice, like, they got there were some things there offensively and defensively. One was, we're going to run the football here and we're going to score, or we're going to pick up a first down or whatever, and they were able to do that. The other thing, and Preston will know 100% exactly what I mean by this, is when you flip the field and you get on defense, there were a couple of times, and one in particular early in the game when Kentucky was on their own 31-yard line, where you knew what they were going to do. They told you, we're going for it, and we've got a yard or two to go. And around here, this hasn't happened much. You know, we've watched this consistent fail from time and time again, third downs, fourth downs, short conversions, you know, man up, can you stop them? Well, they did that Saturday. You know, are you man enough? And Carolina was man enough in those situations. Again, I'm coming right at you. This is what I'm going to do, and there's not a daggum thing you can do about it. South Carolina said, not so fast. They were able to hold up in those situations.
Absolutely. And to that point, that's when I started wondering about what was going on with Kentucky, because that seemed to lack inconsistency with their brand of football. The Kentucky that we know would punt that ball away and just play defense again, and they seemed to be trying to do something different. And when they got stopped, it felt like that was the wind that left their sails immediately when that happened.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Looking back at some of the box scores, one guy that we thought we might see against Old Dominion that comes in now, this was due to an injury, I believe due to an injury or a situation where Lenore Sellers needed to get to a bathroom off the field. I wasn't real sure. We just know it was a lower body injury. Robbie Ashford, though, shows up, did a good job and showed some quickness. 6 carries, 26 yards on Saturday. Jamie?
Yeah. Really enjoyed seeing him in the game. You know, I would anticipate they're probably going to try to find ways to at least use his legs moving forward. I mean, Sellers is your quarterback, and they're not going to play musical chairs. I get that. But when he got in there, he was a very confident kid. Obviously, the game plan adjusted a little bit with him, but they still moved the ball down the field. And if they had to go with him, you know, depending on how bad the stomach bug is.
I don't know. It might have been an injury. I just
listen. I'm here to tell everybody, as a redshirt freshman, that's the thing you're still trying to figure out. How much can I eat at pregame? What do I eat at pregame? Should I eat at pregame? Everybody's bodies works differently. And if you might, you know, like this week I'm gonna do the chicken breast, and then you're like, oh, let me throw a little baked potato with some sour cream on there. And you're like, that didn't work out. So yes. He's still
there's still
some things he might be trying to figure out. I'm telling you, that is a big part of figuring out, okay, because you need to figure out, I need to eat, I need some energy, but I can't eat too much because I'm nervous.
And it's a noon game. And it's a noon game, too.
A lot of things you have to figure out.
Because they showed him jogging off the field, and they're like, well, he's going to the locker room for help. And I thought, I didn't see him get hurt, and he wasn't in the medical tent. And then he came jogging right back out, and I went, I'm just thinking he might have had a situation there, but he comes. But again, the point I was making prior to that was Robbie Ashford comes in, and look, I like this because there is a time and a place where I think Preston and Jamie, you kind of agree. Get Lenoris out and have him stand on the sideline and talk to somebody for a minute and observe the game. So maybe he sees something while he's out, and you allow a guy with experience like Robbie Ashford in, who I think can handle the offense for a series or two, that maybe helps Lenoris Sellers. Preston, you've been there. Defensive linemen, you get breathers. Quarterbacks, they don't ever get to stand on the sideline for just a few minutes, especially young ones, and watch what's actually developing.
Yeah, and they never get a break because the pressure is always on them as consistently. So, yes, being able to view the game from the outside, maybe have coach in your ear talking a little bit to talk you through some reads, it could be beneficial for sure.
Jamie?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but if I was Lenore Sellers, I'd get to the sideline and throw a Gatorade cooler into the upper deck if somebody pulled me out in the middle of the ball game just to sit there and talk on the headset. I'd be like, wait a second here. Number one, we got headsets in my helmet. Number two, I'm the quarterback. You know, I can't sit here and do this. But to your point, I get exactly what you're saying. Like, just slow the thing down a little bit for him. But look, he made a boatload of progress from week 1 to week 2. A boatload of progress. He was very confident in the one thing that they did, and they needed to do it. And we had talked about it a lot on our show, not me, but the people that actually know what they're talking about, like Garcia and Perry Orth and those guys. Get him out of the pocket. Get him out. And either reset it or roll him out to be able to have some high-quality throws. And, you know, it just goes to show you, maybe Dowell Loggins actually knows what he's talking about, and idiots like me don't. You know, they were able to do that throughout the afternoon, as Preston said earlier, very successfully, and there were dudes running around wide open.
Look, I just, and I'm probably wrong on this, because it's not like they went from having 250 yards of offense against Old Dominion to 450, but some of the play calls, some of the things, it does make me think that there was a lot held back from the Old Dominion game to prepare. We talked about the importance. I know, Jamie, y'all have had Brad Crawford on before. Brad had actually picked them to lose this game, but beat LSU. It just feels like South Carolina knew. Shane Beamer knew, hey, we should get by Old Dominion. The importance to this season, because South Carolina now looks in position. I guess I've seen crazier things happen. But South Carolina looks in position to finish September no worse than 3-1 with LSU and then Akron. That's a good start to the season, especially with what you have on deck in October. And we'll get into in the next segment a little bit of a look around college football, what you guys think about Oklahoma, who, again, 16-12 over Houston this week. Texas A&M, they routed McNeese, but still we've seen Texas A&M lose at home to a Notre Dame team that couldn't get by Northern Illinois. Vanderbilt, look out, break up the Commodores. 2-0 on the season and dominant. We'll look around college football and get you two's big takes on what you saw. Texas hammering Michigan. Notre Dame losing. The SEC yesterday, by the way, AP poll, 6 of the top 7 schools in the AP top 25, 6 of them SEC teams. That'll change a little bit as they start to play each other. Ohio State, the only team that's not an SEC team.
But how many of those 6 teams are in first place?
None.
Oh.
0.
Okay.
803-404.
Only one.
6100. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Whereas we are rounding out the summer, heading into the fall, you've got all this great football on. You got the baseball playoffs about to take place. So much happening. You do not want to be cleaning your home. You need to use the pros with Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning today. Give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, and mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus a free hallway for only $129. Again, that phone number, 803-262-4020. You can also book online, ZerorezColumbia.com. Again, mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game, and you will get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus a free hallway for just $129. That's all it's going to cost, and it's something that'll make your house look absolutely fantastic and save you work from doing it. Call Zerorez today. Zerorez, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Percival Road at Decker Boulevard, an accident there. Also, Kittywake at Emmanuel Church Road. I-20 westbound at Faro Road, that would be exit 72. There is an accident there. And Fernandina Road near St. Andrews Road, there's also a tie-up. So Monday getting a little bit slower out there. But the forecast looks good, something to look forward to. 83 for the high today, 86 tomorrow and 83 on Wednesday before we get into a little pattern of showers starting on Thursday. It's right now 64 on the early game.
Reminder, September is Hunger Action Month, and the Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Come out this coming Thursday. We'll be out at the Hardee's location at 100 Creech Road in Blythewood from 3 to 6 this coming Thursday, where you can go out and participate in the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. And again, we will be out at the Hardee's location, 100 Creech Road in Blythewood this coming Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Interesting weekend of college football this past weekend, and you had Texas going on the road. Preston and Jamie, Texas goes up to Michigan, and really, if there was aura, if there was a feeling about Michigan, Texas took it away, right? Like, Michigan's done now. They're okay, nice run with Jim Harbaugh. Appreciate everything you did to make college football entertaining. Michigan's not going to be Michigan again, it feels like, for a little bit.
No, they'll go back to being Michigan.
Okay.
Before Harbaugh was there.
Okay. Jamie, thoughts on Texas and what you saw from them in that noon slot on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought they're really good. That Georgia-Texas game in October is going to be something to see, I got a feeling. I mentioned earlier their offensive line. Those guys are legit. I mean, they can play. So, I think it kind of continues to go in the direction of Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and then everybody else in the SEC. It's kind of what I thought coming into the season, that it was those guys, and then everybody else would be kind of trying to figure it out. And then there's usually one or two teams at the very bottom that aren't very good, and we all thought that'd be Vanderbilt. But Vanderbilt's saying, hold on. Same thing with Arkansas. Liked what you saw out of them this weekend. They couldn't hang on, but, they're fighting over there, and they can score some points. So, Texas, Georgia, Bama, those teams, I think they've got Missouri ranked 6th right now, and Ole Miss ranked 5th, Tennessee 7th, whatever. That's fine. But it's hard for me to get around those top 3 teams. They're really good.
One that you kind of left out, I think you left out, is Missouri. Missouri completes the sweep of South Carolina coaches, Pete Limbo and Jody Wright, and they complete the sweep, not giving up a touchdown. Missouri wins 38-0, and Mississippi wins 52-3 over the weekend as they continue their warm-ups. Missouri does have, if it means anything, Boston College, who is now ranked 24th, goes to Missouri for an early game this week, but those two with dominant performances. Alabama was only up 14-13 going into the fourth quarter on South Florida and needed 28 points to put that game away 42-16. Do we know anything, Preston Thorne, about Alabama just yet?
Let's give them one more game. They'll be good.
They're in Wisconsin. They play Wisconsin. Not that
I don't know if we'll learn anything from that, but they'll be good. Will they be to the level of elite or great? That's still yet to be determined.
Jamie, if there was a team that was impressive over the weekend, and I now buy them as a dark horse, and they might even not be a dark horse national championship team, Tennessee. Tennessee just absolutely hammered NC State over the weekend up there in Charlotte in that Duke's Mayo Bowl kickoff, 51-10. I'll borrow a phrase from old Dabo Sweeney. I'm buying stock in Tennessee now. I am buying stock. They have now jumped into the top 7 there. They move all the way up from number 14, but they absolutely blitzed the Wolfpack, and Tennessee's got some really fun, entertaining games coming up here over the next few weeks. They'll hammer Kent State again this weekend, 7:45 night game, but then they've got Arkansas. They've got Oklahoma on the 21st, Arkansas. They've got Alabama on the 19th. They've got Georgia in November. Very interested to see what Tennessee looks like when we get to mid-November.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, give them a lot of credit. I think they've got a chance to be a really, really good football team. I'm sorry, not a chance. They are a really good football team. That's a very poorly worded. And can they beat all those teams? You know, they had Alabama coming to town. Of course, they can beat them. They got to go to Georgia. We'll see. They do avoid Texas, but they've got Oklahoma, as you pointed out, on the 21st of September, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, is Tennessee one of those teams that's going to be there in the very end? There's certainly a chance. And, you know, if you lose 1 or 2 games in this league and you're really, really good, you still have a chance to get into the playoff. Not to take anything away from them, NC State isn't good. Like, they're not good. And, I mean, Western Carolina in the opening week, like, that wasn't just the jitters. Like, we sat there and watched Dave Doran's group. They're just not that good. So, if they were good, would Tennessee have won on Saturday night anyways? Yeah. And would they have won handily? I believe so. Would they have won by 41? No. So as bad as the score looks, you know, some of that has to do with the fact that NC State is pretty terrible and they're going to have a long year. But Tennessee's definitely a good football team.
2 games of interest because they are on the South Carolina schedule. Oklahoma on Saturday really struggled running the football as well. They played a Houston team that is now 0-2 on the season, and Oklahoma wins 16-12. Again, that was a game that was actually 14-12 going into the fourth quarter, and they got a safety. Jackson Arnold was good, 19-32 for 174 yards and 2 touchdowns, interception. Not great. But the Sooners as a whole ran it kind of similar to South Carolina, 26 times for just 76 yards. Looking ahead, that's another game that I've got circled because I don't know what Oklahoma is. And right now, you'd kind of go with that defense for South Carolina, Preston. South Carolina's got a chance in that one now, maybe more so than when people saw Oklahoma pop up on the schedule.
Yeah, because to build on what Shane Beamer said, I do think there was a lot of lazy narratives about helmets coming into the stadiums as opposed to actual teams. And so, yes, Oklahoma will be good because they have talent, but are they that good? The season thus far has proven that they are absolutely beatable when they come to town.
Jamie?
Defense travels. Defense travels. And if your defense is that good, then, yeah, you got a chance. You got a Norman in a few weeks.
Oh, so yeah, when we go to Norman.
They're in Norman, but, I mean, if you've got a good defense travels. Does that mean they're going to go there and give up 6? Well, no, but defense travels. I've got faith in this defense for South Carolina. So as long as they're playing well, wherever they go, Carolina's got a chance.
The other game that I thought was interesting was Texas A&M and McNeese, and we'll try and get to a little bit of that. Texas A&M ran for 333 yards on Saturday. They were up massive. They were up 38-0 at halftime. So I don't know what kind of workout it was, but those are 2 games now as we see the evolution of the season. Oklahoma and Texas A&M. They'll be back-to-back split by an off week that I look at now, and maybe remember I took a chance. I did pick South Carolina to beat Oklahoma in Norman because I'm just not sold on them. But those are 2 now that maybe we feel a little bit different. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. We'll get Jamie's final thoughts and look ahead to game day and LSU being in town on Saturday. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Are tax troubles weighing you down? If so, don't let that stress keep you up at night, bother you throughout the day, cause you issues. Contact John Ecton and his team. Start with a free consultation, 803-771-9800. Again, it's 803-771-9800. If you've received a notice from the IRS, you or your business may be in trouble. But John Ecton and his team, they can help you. And there is time, but it is limited. So call today and start the discussion. Find out what John Ecton and his team can do. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. For more information, visit them on the web. EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. If you're in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, somewhere else in this great state, the Ecton Law Firm is ready to help you. Just give them a phone call and start the process. 803-771-9800. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and it's their proven assurance that your job will get done in a safe and timely manner that will be good for you. So call Mid-State Roofing today. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are there to help you. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing, or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that keeps that operation dry and running long into the future. And again, they're there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, ready to help you with a maintenance contract. That's 803-356-1919. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. Eight 404-6100. We'll get back to a lot of the good, better, best coming up in hour number 3. A lot of y'all have weighed in with some of those. and some of y'all, you can also continue to listen to some of the Kentucky jokes from this morning because, look, sorry, I know there's no trophy involved, but that was a rivalry game. And as Preston has said, Jamie, Preston declaring it definitive now, we have surpassed Kentucky. 3 straight victories, and this one, South Carolina, it's quite frankly, if you're being honest, South Carolina beat Kentucky 24-7 back when Kentucky didn't have a quarterback in, I believe it was 2017, I believe, 2019. That was a Helinski game. This one, on the other hand, was a physical domination where South Carolina did look like they had moved well ahead of Kentucky. Now, it might be just for one more year. I don't know. Kentucky will come here. We do know that next year. We know that the schedule, the SEC schedule, just flip-flops, so vice versa. You get Oklahoma. You'll get these games at home, Oklahoma, Kentucky. Vanderbilt will come here next year. You'll go to LSU. You'll go to Missouri. You'll go to Mississippi. We know that is how it's laid out. Alabama will come here next year. But Jamie, final thoughts on what you saw Saturday from this football team and then where you see them going forward for this coming Saturday.
Yeah, like you mentioned, a physical brand of football, and that was just exciting to see. I mean, it really was awesome to see. Still got some things to clean up, no doubt, in all 3 phases of the game. Offensively, they made more progress. But love the fact that, they've got a bunch of offensive linemen who have been consistently in there playing together, and they kind of know who they are there. It's just a matter of getting it cleaned up. And moving forward, I think you'll continue to see that, obviously the defense, it's hard to not trust those guys at this point in time. If you're good up front on defense, you've got a chance, and they're good up front. It just is what it is. I mean, they're good up front. Dylan Stewart is a freak, and he's only a freshman. All those guys up there, they played 10 of them this weekend up front. That is awesome. You're going to get to stay healthy and fresh and all those type things. And then moving forward, you got quite the challenge coming in this weekend. But, college the college football world, so to speak, is going to be watching you. You've got the first 6 hours of college football is in your lap in Columbia this weekend with game day for 3 hours and then the football game immediately after on ABC. So Carolina's got a chance to make a big-time statement this weekend and let them know that they're here to stay in the SEC.
You remember a particular game you came to, Preston, that stood out? And you're like, okay, that's it. Totally different now. It's not the dungeon that it was back in 99 and 98 when you were coming up here to watch a game or two. But this is a recruiting opportunity. It's an opportunity for Shane Beamer and his team. This is an opportunistic weekend for South Carolina football coming up.
Yeah, I do, and I don't know the exact date of the game, but it was the Florida game of my junior year, I believe. That was obviously the 0-11 year of my senior year. That was the year that they were going 0-11, and I remember the way the team battled and fought through that game, and also I remember the way the fans were with the team, and again that made a distinct impression because there was no hiding the fact that the team was bad at that point, but you could see them fighting, and then going into the locker room, you felt as if something was changing in culture-wise, and so I mean obviously that was a different time. I wouldn't expect people to stay in the stands at the way they would then now because things have changed, but that did make a distinct impression on me. And
again, they're going to have. I know that list is growing there of recruits. I will say this also, and I'll get Jamie's take on it real quick, and we'll come back, Preston, later in the week. I like the noon start for this game. There's just something about. I think South Carolina seems to play better in early games. I don't know if 18 to 23 or 24-year-olds are affected, Preston, by having to travel over and you kind of speed up the clock a little bit for LSU. We'll get your take on that as we got Preston shaking his head aggressively. But, yeah, Jamie, I like the noon start. I think that this is an advantage for South Carolina. Did we lose Jamie? Might have lost Jamie. Jen's got both hands in the air.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's up and all the technical things.
Preston, you do agree with that the noon do you agree with the noon start?
I do, because you just have less time to sit around and watch everything else that's happening in college football. Coaches want to have more meetings, more time sitting around, more time scrolling on Instagram, more time face twittering or whatever the case. Let's just get out there and play ball, man.
I think I actually do think it's a positive for South Carolina, and I don't think it'll hurt recruiting at all. We'll talk more about that as we go through the week. We'll come back we'll check on Jamie Bradford. We'll see if he's okay. But we will come back.
Big Blue Nation got him.
They cut his mic. They were tired of him. We'll also read you a few more predictions from Kentucky writers. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. If you are in the market for a brand new car, truck, or SUV, you need to be getting out to Love Chevrolet now and seeing all the great deals that they've got going on. It is absolutely spectacular. There's a reason that Love Chevrolet has been and will continue to be the number one volume Chevy dealership here in the Midlands. It's not just because they have the largest selection of vehicles, 14 acres to be exact. It's not just because they have the lowest prices guaranteed and the $1,000 low price guarantee, but it's also because of what is important, and that is how you are treated from the second you come on the lot to the second you leave. And at Love Chevrolet, they understand customer service is of the utmost importance. They want to treat you like you deserve, like the respect that you should get. Walk you around the lot, make sure that you understand what stands about this particular car, truck, or SUV, or what stands out about that one. And that's what makes Love Chevrolet stand out above the rest. So get out to Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
Malfunction Junction living up to its name this morning. I-26 eastbound near I-20. There is an accident. Also, Fernandina Road at St. Andrews. I-20 westbound at Faro. I-26 eastbound right there at I-20. As we mentioned before, still causing an issue. Kitty Wake at Emmanuel Church. And one more to let you know about, and that's Percival at Decker Boulevard. And man, we are looking nice for as far as your forecast goes. 83 for the high today. 86 tomorrow, 83 on Wednesday. Maybe see some rain later in the week. But right now, holding it about 63 with sunshine on the early game.
Barber in motion, handoff. Sanders left side, driving the legs and into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina.
And no penalties.
Touchdown, Carolina. That is Sanders from 6 yards out. He was denied the touchdown from 30-plus yards, but he gets in from 6. And this extra point would make it 24-6 with 28 seconds to go in the third.
That was the one that blew it open, Preston Thorne, 24-6, and sent Big Blue scrambling for. My understanding is they built 4 new entrances and exits that allowed for people to leave earlier. And
express lanes.
And express lanes. And I'm dead serious.
They turned the traffic. Evacuation.
I was dead serious. I'm serious about what I said. My understanding is that they did a renovation there, and just to help with crowd control and to get in and out of the stadium, that they built around the stadium, I guess on each side, like a new entrance exit for them, and it helped. As that was the touchdown. Rocket Sanders on Saturday. Good game. Good. We talked about good, better, best, and I'll get to some of these text messages. But what do we make of him so far this season? Solid.
I think he could play better.
Okay.
I think there were some opportunities that it felt like he was a little timid in actually getting to and hitting the small holes that were created for him. I think he could be a little bit more forceful in getting upfield, but I think he can be better. 13
carries, 54 yards, that touchdown, which, again, you raised an interesting question. And so let's put out another question here for this hour. When did you feel comfortable with this game? At what point did you go, okay, we got this thing in the bag? Mine was about then, 24-6 going into the fourth quarter. I felt like South Carolina could run the clock and hold on for the victory at that point. There was a sense, the way the defense was dominating, that at that point there wasn't anything Kentucky could do.
I was good at 17.
Were you?
Yeah, because I just didn't think Kentucky had anything in their bag to score points. They looked like they were futile in the offense. And I think somewhere during that, maybe the worst drive I've ever seen in football, where they had 5 penalties, backed up into the end zone, nearly got a safety because they were holding. It was around that point I was like, oh, yeah, it's a wrap. They're over.
And not only that, but it was weird because I haven't seen South Carolina have this attitude in a while, but you just felt like the attitude on defense was, oh, we've crushed them.
Yep.
We can do whatever we want. We can rush one person and drop 10, and we're gonna get pressure on Brock Vandergrift. It was a very odd kind of thing because I haven't seen it from South Carolina in a long time.
It wasn't 1 on 10, but it was 3 on 7 at one point, and they still got pressure against the quarterback. So yeah, as Jamie said, the Big Blue Wall is no longer. And I would like to also mention Eric Wolford. You're on the Madden cam, sir, because I'm going through. Yeah, I know you're known as being the offensive line guy. I don't know how good you are as an offensive line coach because I looked at your resume. All your best years were with Alabama.
No, that wasn't a good year last year. They gave up more sacks than South Carolina. Did you know that?
There you go.
They were good in run. They were good in running the football, but was that because they have really good running backs? And
all I'm saying is when Shane talks about lazy narratives, let's start before we repeat things about coaches or people or things of that nature. Because I looked at Eric Wolford, that was an awful performance as an offensive line guru that he's supposed to be. And then I started going back through that, and I don't know how good he actually is.
Speaking of that, let's play that from Saturday post game there. This is Shane Beamer talking about lazy narratives, and I think it extends beyond just South Carolina versus Kentucky. Here's Shane Beamer after the game on Saturday.
We said coming on the road, you've got to have great toughness, check. You've got to have great physicality, check. When adversity hits, you got to have great composure, check. And then great togetherness. And we showed that as well. And we talked about getting the game into the fourth quarter and finding a way to win it. And we absolutely did. I love you guys. I think you're fantastic at the jobs you do. But frankly, there were some really false and lazy narratives out there, guys, this week. There was perception coming out of the Old Dominion game, and I get it. It wasn't great. Nobody thought we were going to win 4 games. But not just you guys, everybody out there. I get it. That's why the line, not that I pay attention to gambling lines, but that's why the line continued to get bigger this week, I think, for Kentucky as the week win. I apologize if I just completely violated all protocols, Commissioner Sankey, but there wasn't a lot of belief in this program or in this team coming in here to be able to do what we just did against a really good team that has a veteran defense, I think 10 returning starters, great players, high draft picks, talented receivers. But I told our team on Tuesday that there's perception and there's reality. And the reality was we got a good football team. Reality is that we played really good defense against Old Dominion last week. Reality is we started 3 true freshmen on offense last week and a redshirt freshman quarterback, and they would continue to get better. Reality is that we're really good on special teams, and we got a big-time punter, as we showed today. And ultimately, reality is we got great belief. The 74 young men that came up here, the coaches and staff, this isn't like some surprise. We truly, expected to win this football game, knew it was going to take a lot, knew it was going to take all of us, all 74, and we certainly were able to get it done.
Yeah, let me, with no knowledge whatsoever, but just reading occasionally, hey, any coach or player, do not go down what the Vegas spread was. Do not take a chance even on that right now in this day and age. Just completely ignore that. But look, whatever works. Whatever you got to use. Whatever you got to use.
That's fine. I will say this. We can't measure your belief. That's not something that us as fans who are on the outside of the building, who never have access to the building, we don't watch practices, we don't know. All we can go by is what we see, and what we saw last Saturday was below average performance. And so that was the reality of what we saw. Now that we've seen a better performance, the reality has changed.
Was it, let's flip it around. Was it a lazy narrative that we thought Kentucky was good on offense?
That was the lazy narrative. There's a couple of lazy narratives. One, Eric Wolford. Is he any good as an offensive line coach? I'm not sure. Brock Vandegrift. I told you all, this dude's been beaten out 3 times as a quarterback. Is he any good? I don't know. Yes, he was the number 1 quarterback in his class at one time, but that was a long time ago. We don't know if this dude is any good. And so, yes, the lazy narratives were probably we gave Kentucky more credit than they might have deserved.
Whatever works. Use it for motivation this weekend.
That's true.
Use it for motivation.
Can we make some more lazy narratives? How about this? Oh, LSU's coming into town.
Yeah.
You better get ready. Those guys are good. Brian Kelly, he's a national championship appearing coach. Has Shane ever been to one? No. Is he?
Not as a head coach. Did he?
Not as a head coach. Not as a head coach. Let's do it.
Sure he's been
Let's create more lazy narratives if that's what works for the team.
I'm with you on that. And look, this team, they should have a chip on their shoulder. They should, after you go 5-7, they should. They have a lot to prove. You have a great win that we on the radio will celebrate for about another 3 hours. This hour and 2 tomorrow.
Correct.
And then we'll flip it and we'll start looking at LSU, a ranked team that, at least going into the preseason, I don't know if this is still the belief, but at least going into the preseason was considered a college football playoff team. They'll come in here as a 7-point favorite on Saturday, or at least as of 8:08 on your Monday morning. We'll see if that line moves and jumps and shifts and what happens to it. Use it again. Use it again.
Sure.
You win this. And with game day here, you'll have that whole afternoon where they're doing the cut-ins, and you're going to have I don't know. I guess I don't know where Herb Street will be on Saturday night.
Which one?
Kirk Herbstreit.
I thought you were talking about Ben Herbstreit. I didn't.
The dog?
Yeah.
He'll be with wherever Kirk is.
Okay.
But I say that because you win this game where game day's at, and it's a full Saturday of publicity.
Yeah.
It is a full Saturday of publicity. I have complete faith, rain or sunshine, whatever, that place is going to be rocking from about 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. And by that place, I also mean Gamecock Park, all the way through as long as South Carolina is in contention to win that game. You can reset a narrative around South Carolina football that started to build after you beat Tennessee and beat Clemson and had that really fun to watch bowl game. You can start to rebuild that kind of narrative Saturday around the program as a whole, and you'd be 3-0, and you would be ranked next Monday when the AP Top 25 comes out, and you'd be looking at Akron after that to get to 4-0, and who knows what you'd be talking about given that they'd be 4-0 off a bye week with Mississippi coming in October 5th. You see what's on the line here?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to establish yourself.
Are you?
Yes.
Are you trying to do something?
Can I wait till the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow when we flip
can wait.
it?
We can wait.
But you see what's coming down the pipe here.
I think you're trying to do something, and I like it.
Yeah, I'm willing to take that stance on this because
all right.
Because you go win that game. But this past Saturday, 31-6, and let's be honest, they are being nice to each other. Stoops and Beamer, they don't like each other.
Yeah, there's no love lost there for sure.
They don't like each other.
They're
and
fine.
Kentucky does not like us, and we do not like Kentucky. Kentucky showed up with those shades on and doing all of that, and
you could see by how disappointed the fans were, and I think that's why this loss might hurt that fan base so much because they don't think that their team should be losing to this team, especially the way they did.
Yeah, they're look.
As I said, embarrassing, disgraceful, disastrous, suffered a collapse, worried, loss of hope. These are just some of the words that I picked from some of the Kentucky media that I've read over the weekend.
But go back and read what they were saying prior to the game. That's where it's really interesting. Again, we've read a couple of these.
It's fair to say that this fan base was more measured in our anticipation of that game, right? We were more because
scared, terrified.
Scared
I don't know what
word.
Because you're right. We had just seen the Old Dominion game.
Mm-hmm.
How much could you change in 1 week? And these games, as we pointed out, 16 of the last 24 have been 10-point games. 14 of those 16 had been 7-point games. This has typically been a very hard-fought, tight contest that both programs acknowledge. For us to take a step forward, you got to beat that one. You can't get.
I think this game, well, at least I know for the Stoops tenure and maybe for the Beamer tenure, this game will go down. Looking back in history, this will be a very important turning point in that program and probably this one too.
I'm with you on that, and there's a lot of Kentucky fans who viewed it very similar. Kentucky's got Georgia this weekend. They're a 23-point underdog. They're likely to be 1-2. Guess what? They get Ohio after that, and then they've got Mississippi. They could very likely be 2-3, and their bowl eligibility is a big question right now. You're right about this being a potential turning point for that program. South Carolina still got a lot to prove. South Carolina still has to get to a bowl game, try and get to 7 wins. We'll continue talking about that, get into a little bit more of a look around college football, get back into some numbers as well, and I'll read some of these good, better, best comments from earlier in the program. A lot of y'all have weighed in on the text line, and I'll try and get to a bunch of those as we roll along. Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
We're there. We're ready.
We'll get that going in the next segment as well. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. Happy Monday to you. Winning Monday on the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington, and the kitchen that we had to redo because of all the demolition. The process went really, really well when it came to working with CHW Cabinetry. They guided us in getting the layout, even some kind of neat accessories that we were able to incorporate in the design, the photorealistic rendering that we took to help us pick out the countertops and the backsplash and the floors and everything else that went into putting the kitchen together. Kitchens, they do that. They also do bathrooms. We experienced them as far as baths were concerned. When you had to replace a cabinet in a guest bath, they can help you maximize functionality in your pantry, in a home office, in any of your closets. Endless possibilities. I encourage you to visit chwcabinetry.com or give them a call today at 803-520-6837. Be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. Passion from inspiration to installation.
Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic, where, guys, as we get a little bit older, things start to change a little bit. We are not our normal selves. It's not like we're in our 20s anymore. And at the Men's Clinic, they understand that. Sometimes you have something wrong, and you just can't put your finger on it, but something feels off. Maybe you're more tired than usual. You're struggling to recover after a workout. Maybe you've noticed more stray hairs left behind on your comb and pillowcase, and maybe your play at home is not quite as great as you would hope it is. At the Men's Clinic, they understand, and they provide you a safe, comfortable place to discuss your health issues. They want men to live the prime, optimal life at the right time for yourself, and that's why you should not settle for general medical care. Instead, you should visit Dr. Dan Balknight, 803-875-MENS. Again, that's 803-875-MENS. They are the experts in men's health, and again, believe that all men should live their absolute best life. So call Dr. Dan Balknight today and schedule an appointment.
Traffic-wise, it's kind of busy out there. Summit Parkway at Summit Ridge Drive. Also Percival at Decker. Kittiwake at Emmanuel Church. We have an accident there. I-26 eastbound there at exit 129. A slowdown. Also Malfunction Junction, I-26 eastbound right there at I-20. And I-20 westbound at Farrow Road. One more to let you know about. And Fernandina near St. Andrews Road. 83 today, 86 tomorrow. 83 on Wednesday before we get into a pattern of maybe some scattered rain showers for the next few days after that. But right now, it's sunny, 63 on the early game.
Here's Sellers, wants to roll left. Got man wide open at the 6. Turning after the catch into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Mazio Bennett Jr. Oh, my goodness. The first of his career and the first for 2024 for Lenora Sellers from 24 yards out on the road in the SEC. Boom, that's how you get it started.
That was the call on Saturday. It was Lenora Sellers to Mazio Bennett. Good to see Bennett, a freshman, out there making a play, getting wide open. A very good play call from Dow Loggins, and we'll continue to discuss that a little bit here this morning as we roll along. I want to remind you about the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Well, there was no special teams touchdown this past weekend, Preston Thorne, so now that pot is up to $300. You can get registered to win if there is a special teams touchdown by South Carolina, mind you, this coming Saturday against LSU. You can win $300 in the pot. Just go to 1075thegame.com and get registered. That way you can potentially win the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Again, that pot now up to $300. If South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown this coming weekend and you're registered, you could be drawn to win that $300. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest right here on 1075 The Game. Let's do a little Thorns, Buds, and Roses. It was an interesting weekend. Interesting. You had all kinds of fun games taking place. Let's hear what Preston Thorne had to say about the weekend.
Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game. 1075 The Game.
Bill, there comes a time where things that used to be thorns can cease to be thorns anymore.
Oh, okay.
When maybe you've moved on or you've advanced in your spiritual life enough that things that used to bother you don't bother you anymore. And I am proud to admit, Marcus Satterfield is no longer a thorn in my side.
Very nice.
I am no longer cheering against Nebraska actively anymore. I will just watch them as any other college football team. I've moved on. I watched the game on Saturday night. I didn't have the same vile feeling in my heart. Let bygones be bygones. It was a time. It didn't work out between us. I have finally come to grips with the idea that we have moved on. Not to mention the fact that they did beat one of my thorns in Colorado and Dion. Coach Prime, Shador, leaving the field early. It's a whole nother conversation. But I'm proud to say that I no longer have the ill will in my heart towards Marcus Satterfield in the Nebraska program.
Oh, good to hear that.
So I've moved on past that thorns. Buds, Bill, are we on the verge of a defense that gets a nickname? A historic defense? A defense, one that's going to set records? We don't want to force anything. It has to come naturally. But this defense might have the potential to go down in history as one of the best defenses to play in South Carolina. So just put a pin in this. Start your nickname generators. Start thinking about things, because there is a possibility that something could happen. This defense was awesome. Gave up 1 yard total to the quarterback, Brock Vandergriff, who's wildly overrated in my opinion. 5 sacks, 11 tackles for losses. They actually did put up a donut, Bill, as in no touchdowns.
No touchdowns.
There you go. So maybe something's budding with this defense. And finally, lastly, Rose switching to the NFL. We need 3 roses for Damar Hamlin, who made a start for the Buffalo Bills at safety after 2 years after nearly dying on the football field. He has come back, fought, challenged himself, and he has earned a starting position with the Buffalo Bills, and that is an amazing accomplishment for their young man. So kudos to you, Damar Hamlin, and 3 roses for you. Bill, those are my no longer have a thorns, a bud, and the roses.
Let's see if this causes a thorn. I'm sorry, Jen, but he did this to me. Let's play 31.
I don't even know what this is.
Let's see.
Bill, I was in a good space.
Let's see if this gives Preston Thorne a thorn. This is after Colorado and Nebraska. This is Shador Sanders. Here is Shador Sanders, just offering blame on people after Saturday night's performance.
I mean, how many times did Rowley get touched?
You said what?
How many times did Rowley get touched? There was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently, and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, But it's just like you got to understand, like, what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
I'm not sure who he blamed. The offensive line, his dad, the offensive coordinator. I mean, the first question, how many times did Raiola get touched, referring to Dylan Raiola for Nebraska? It wasn't Shador's fault. And you're right, he wandered off the field. So I don't know if that gives you a thorn to.
I've made my prediction of what's going to happen with the Colorado season, and it feels like I'm on my way.
They get Colorado State this weekend, and what was one of the
best games last year.
And
great game.
And we'll see how that goes. That was a beat. Nebraska, there's a part of me that is pulling for Nebraska to be back.
As in the institution of Nebraska.
There's a part of me that is pulling for them to be good again, because I grew up with a dislike of Nebraska because of a very good friend of mine and having to watch Colorado and Nebraska every Thanksgiving. And I remember when I didn't like Steve Spurrier and Florida in 95. But I was really upset that Nebraska beat them the way they did.
That was a drubbing.
And when Florida State kicked the field goal, I think in 93 or 4, that was a Charlie Ward-led team. All right, in Florida State, I think actually Nebraska missed a field goal at the very end. I was very happy. There's part of me that to not like Nebraska, I'm pulling for them to be back so I can re-engage in those feelings.
When Nebraska goes and wears their version of throwback uniforms, do you think they'll have like the half cuts?
They should,
because that's that vision of Tommy Frazier emerging out of the line, and you could just see his abdomen, fully sculpted, 8-pack abs.
Lawrence Phillips
running people over. Yeah, that is the time. Yeah, and good for those people in Nebraska, because they looked like they were excited. It was fun to have fun football back for them. So, like I said, good for them.
And also, what stinks is Matt Rule is about as fun as regular cardboard.
Yeah.
Just brown, regular cardboard. Yeah. So I need something that re-energizes me to not like them. But good for Nebraska, 2-0. Worked their way back into the top 25 now. Remember, when they had Bo Pelini, it was easy to not like them.
Well, Bo Pelini's easy. And they were, and again, that's one of those things where I'm sure there's somebody on Nebraska, on the game in Nebraska is like, we should have kept Bo Pelini. He was winning 8 games a year, but they moved on, and maybe they got the right guy.
And let me repeat again. Northern Iowa this weekend, Illinois at home, at Purdue, Rutgers, at Indiana before Ohio State at the end of October. Ohio State will beat them by 40, but we might have an undefeated top 15 Nebraska team and game day there. We all promote it like it's a big deal and get all excited.
Good for them.
So 803-40.
I've moved on. Good for them.
Let's get out to the phone lines real quick. Jack, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Hey, friends. How y'all doing this morning? I'm doing great, man. The Carolina win. I'm like you, pressing Go Cops. Yes, sir. That's a good thing this morning. I feel good about it. But I just have a question. Did you all see the Kentucky fans? Now, I don't know if it was a thing towards Shane Beamer and the crew, the team, what I'm speaking of when Shane Beamer did his presentation of with his shades and what's not. But you seen all them fans with all them shades on and what's not. But when we got that 24 points or 31 points, when they all left the stadium, did y'all see all those shades they left up out there on that on the bleachers out there at the end of the game? They just took them off. The light came on, and they're not as good as they thought they was. You know, Carolina went down and took care of business, and you know, I'm just proud of them. You know, and so I just want to ask that you all see that part. I don't know what the concept of it was when they was wearing all them shades out there like that. It could have just been because of the sun.
No.
They wanted to move, but I thought that as I seen them left them all out on the bleachers. If you look at the end of the game, I mean, when they left there, I mean, I wish I was there. I would have collected every last one of them that was out there.
Appreciate the phone call, Jack. I don't know. Someone told me that was up there that they gave them out because there was a bunch of kind of similar shades.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I saw enough to confirm that there was a giveaway. I think there might have just been a concerted effort. Maybe they found some on Amazon or something like that. But one of the dudes had a really bad haircut and those shades combined, along with losing and surrender cobering. It was not good for them.
We'll come back. We'll get back into that in a second. You're listening to the early game. It was an incredible weekend from BYU SMU on Friday night to a full day of football on Saturday to NFL yesterday, and it all really started Friday morning when I made my stop by Old Timey Meat Market. I bought a box of oysters. That's right, a 100-count box of oysters. I bought red snapper. I bought Southern-style biscuits for breakfast on Saturday morning. We had hamburgers for late afternoon on Saturday. That's the thing. Old Timey Meat Market has everything you are looking for, and they do it with a non-grocery store style experience. And what I mean by that is when you walk in the door, they know what you want. They know your name. They know your family. It's just like it used to be back in the olden days, and that's why it's Old Timey Meat Market. Go visit one of their 3 locations where you'll find the absolute best cuts of meat at the absolute best prices. South Congaree, St. Andrews Road, Norma, or the Lexington store. Stop by Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Still working that earlier tie-up, I-26 eastbound near I-20. Andrew Courtly Road near North Lake Drive. Fernandina at St. Andrews Road, an accident there. Also, I-26 eastbound, exit 129, an accident reported. Also working a tie-up in Lexington, Old Cherokee Road at Old Chapin. Summit Parkway at Summit Ridge Drive. Percival at Decker, and Kittiwake at Emmanuel Church Road. Do be careful out there. It's really supposed to be pretty nice today. 83 for the high, 86 tomorrow, 83 on Wednesday. Then a rain pattern comes in starting on Thursday. Right now, 64 on the early game.
That was Northern Illinois head coach Thomas Hammock, who was a little emotional Saturday afternoon as Northern Illinois goes in and knocks off Notre Dame 16-14. Notre Dame, and that draws two fist pumps from Jen.
Oh, Notre Dame going down at home. That was a beautiful thing.
Can't say I saw that coming down the pipe.
Oh. There we go.
You want to see tears of joy? I was crying with the man right there.
Yeah, and look, it was I think a 63-yarder is what I heard. I was not watching the game. I was obviously at that point was invested in South Carolina, but Mitch Jeter having a potential game-winning field goal blocked at the very end, but again, 93 yards. Preston Thorne, that was a tall task for him to have to make that one to hold on to the game. But all right, Notre Dame, great job. Way to. Did they remove themselves from the college football playoff this weekend?
No, they'll probably still have Notre Dame favored, and I think their schedule is pretty weak for the rest of the ride. But there are questions about Marcus Freeman. You know, he's dropped one of these every year. I think they lost to Marshall last year.
That's a good point.
They've done this. This seems to be a thing that's developing with that program. So they were very high last week, coming off a beating of Texas A&M, and now they're back to earth.
Does it make you wonder a little bit more about Texas A&M? Just a little bit more about Texas A&M at all?
Yeah, sure.
That's
because sure. Let's not do a lazy narrative. I don't know if Texas A&M is any good. They lost to a Notre Dame team that lost to Northern Illinois. I guess was that the transitive property or something like that. We can, sure. I'm fine with that.
What you're thinking of is the 2022 game in which Marshall went in there and knocked them off. Stanford also not a good Stanford
they lost
team.
To Stanford.
Beat them at home. That you're 16-14, oddly enough, as well.
So something developing there, but oh well.
So what big picture thoughts, and I'll start with you, and then I'll give mine. What big picture thoughts do we have after this past weekend on college football right now? When you see that, and you can move them closer into South Carolina. We did a little bit of this with the schedule, but if we talk about a Texas A&M, if we talk about an Oklahoma, we talk about an LSU, stuff like that. What big picture thoughts for you come out of this past weekend in college football?
There's only a couple of teams in the SEC that are untouchable by us as South Carolina fans, and I would say that's Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, maybe Tennessee's getting to that level
right now.
Texas, let me not forget Texas. I forget that they're in SEC. Aside from those three teams, anybody can get it. Aside from those three teams, I think anybody is beatable, and/or I'm not saying you should expect to win, but you can go into those games feeling like we can win those games.
There was in particular 3 top 10 teams this weekend that really struggled. Alabama, again, was up just 14-13 going into the fourth quarter with South Florida. And maybe Alex Golish and South Florida are something to kind of be reckoned with. They seem to be getting a little bit better. Oregon needed everything in the tank for a second straight week to knock off Boise State in that game. Dylan Gabriel was 18-21 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Oregon right now, that's back-to-back weeks. They've won. That's the name of the game. That's what I said last week with South Carolina beating Old Dominion. The name of the game is winning, but Oregon 37-34 in that ball game. And then this would have made Preston's day. Not that this day wasn't good enough. You got a bunch of Gamecock victories over the weekend. Football, soccer, volleyball, hockey apparently beat North Carolina. Rugby won. Penn State needed about everything they had to knock off Bowling Green. It was 24-20. Bowling Green, not Boiling, but Bowling Green was up 24-20 at halftime of that game up in Happy Valley.
Close. It gave me
that would have floated in here this morning.
Absolutely. Came in here skipping. You telling me that James Franklin and Dion lost in the same week? Hugh Freeze lost too. Bobby Petrino lost. All my guys are losing. That almost would have been a clean sweep for me.
That's another one. I'm Hugh Freeze. He did not hit the transfer portal to get a quarterback. He stuck with a thorn.
Well, I've done some genealogy, and I'm glad to report that thorn is not on this side of the thorn tree.
Okay,
He's from the distant other side of the thorn family.
I mean, are people aware of the losses that Hugh Freeze has at Auburn? And I'm not saying that Auburn should be a national title contender. I'm also saying with the resources and the way things are down there, that you expect Hugh Freeze to come in and win 8 games kind of out of the gate. And mind you, I don't know if people really and truly understand what has occurred down there, but Hugh Freeze in his last 5 games is 1-4 with losses now to New Mexico State and to well-known ACC power California. And throw in there a loss to Alabama. They got demolished in the bowl game. Auburn did by Maryland. Auburn fans don't tend to go. Auburn last year was 6-7. They're 1-1. This is a game. They were a 14.5-point favorite in this game. They were expected to have no problem. They have an offense that put up 70 points. I know it was Alabama A&M, but 73 points last week.
And again, I know we know ACC legends Marshawn Lynch and Aaron Rodgers were not on that particular Cal team, but yeah, they're struggling. I took a picture of something on Twitter here. This is from Josh Vitale. Auburn is 18-23 since firing Gus Malzahn.
Yeah.
So you see how that works for certain fan bases. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. And the Brian Harsin era was a dumpster fire, and this is not going much better.
803-404-6100. Texter weighs in. Hot take. South Carolina is better than Michigan and Penn State.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Jeff weighs in. I got a lot of happiness from watching Notre Dame lose. Not as much fun as watching Kentucky fans running for the exits faster than our front four through the paper-thin blue wall.
Nice. Good. That's a good tweet.
Another texter weighs in. I don't know if I'd agree with this, but I'd be interested. I'd say Ole Miss is ahead of Tennessee.
I'll entertain that. I'll entertain that.
Okay. All right. Danny in Greenville saying, I think we played a great game on Saturday. Offensive line still a little shaky, but I think Sean Elliott needs to move into that slot offensive line coach. Go Gamecocks beat LSU. And we'll kind of wrap this up tomorrow looking at the Kentucky game, but we'll come back in the next segment, look at some numbers real quick, but we'll also kind of get your thoughts on that offensive line. Can they take another step forward this weekend? We'll finish this up, and then we'll start to tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Yeah, we might be ready to declare this LSU game something important. We'll tell you about that tomorrow at 8. But we'll come back. We'll look at that offensive line and wrap up the Monday morning episode of The Early Game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. So whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence, or whether you're in Myrtle Beach, if you've got a leak, you need to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. You can give them a phone call. 803-356-1919. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Somebody is ready to take your phone call. Doesn't matter if it's at midnight, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. Somebody is there, whether it's a Mid-State Roofing employee or an on-call technician. They are ready to help you with a maintenance contract and solve any issues you have. So, again, wherever you're at and listening this morning, call Mid-State Roofing today, because whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that keeps your operation dry and running long into the future. That phone number again, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping it up. And you know what? If you don't know how to celebrate, there's 12 of these football games. You hope to get a 13th. Now you hope to get a 14th, 15th, and I think even maybe a 16th somewhere in there. But if you don't celebrate a little bit, if you don't make fun of your opponent, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's be honest for a sec. This isn't life or death.
Right.
All right? We can make fun of Kentucky and everything they did over the weekend, and quite frankly, we can make fun of. They are a mouthy bunch that, quite frankly, has a sense of arrogance that if we'd have lost, they'd say the same thing about us. We didn't lose.
We did not.
And we dominated them. And I go back to the prediction from Darryl Bird of catspaws.com and said, it's a must-win, and Kentucky does. Spanking the smart-mouth Gamecocks 35-13 behind 4 passing TDs from Brock Vandergriff. That would have meant that Brock Vandergriff would have had to complete 4 passes. He only completed 3.
Well, Bill.
Did he even get 4 yards?
He had 30.
Well,
but he had negative 29 rushing yards.
See there, yeah.
He had 1 yard total offense. Also, Bill, if you really want to be technical, he completed 5 passes. It's just 2 of them were to the other team.
That's actually a great point.
So,
it's actually a great point.
However you want to do that.
It was big. As Preston stated earlier, do we think Kentucky's very good after now? That is the point about early season narratives. Kentucky was flying high, 31-0 over Southern Mississippi in a game that was cut short due to lightning. They felt great about themselves. South Carolina did not feel good about themselves. That's how the narrative changes in 7 days in college football.
Absolutely.
We feel great about ourselves now. Kentucky is
floundering.
They are literally trying to. I've read their message board yesterday because it was worth it. They are trying to figure out what they owe Mark Stoops for a buyout. Kentucky fans feel like their program is now about to make a massive downward turn. But the key here is you win into Lexington, Kentucky in a game that was huge, and you dominated. And your defense looked really good. And Lenore Sellers took some steps to continuing to improve and getting better. The offensive line took some steps. Again, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we will turn the page. We will start to look ahead to LSU. But this was what South Carolina really needed early in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the encouraging thing to me is that there are steps to be made. Nobody watched that game and said, oh, man, South Carolina played a perfect game, and that's why they were just firing on all cylinders. They weren't. There still are a lot of things that need to be improved, and that, to me, that is a hopeful sign for the future.
Take me back very quickly to 2004.
Okay.
We were both – you were a redshirt senior. I was somewhere middling through half of my junior year, even though we enrolled at the same time. I'll never forget South Carolina. Y'all opened with Vanderbilt up there. Jay Cutler was the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
There was all the discussion. Oh, look out. This is Vanderbilt's year. They've got this big-time quarterback. Here they come. And y'all won that game 31-6. Jamacia Jackson, God rest him, had a 99-yarder.
Long one.
But the confidence y'all had in a game that was expected to be closer than it was. Y'all dominated that day. And you got off to the big start, 4-1, and there was the unfortunate incident with Fred Bennett and a Mississippi receiver that kind of turned the season a little bit. But the confidence that built for y'all early on in that season.
Yeah, well, we thought we were going to be pretty good on defense, and when we went out there and showed it early, it solidified all the work that we had done previously. So I could see why these defenses, they've talked themselves into it. They've seen what they've done in practice, and now to go able to execute it for basically 2 weeks in a row, things are starting to develop. And now that builds them more. This week's practice is going to be better because we have a chance to do something really special.
That defense is growing in confidence. The big thing is they come out of these first 2 games healthy. And that's another thing. South Carolina, at least to this point, has stayed relatively healthy. I think that's big. There's just a lot to feel good about with what's going to be a really fun week here in Columbia. And again, we'll turn our attention to that tomorrow at 8 a.m. We'll get our final thoughts on this. Shane Beamer will speak tomorrow at 1 o'clock in his press conference. But this is, to me, Preston, I don't want to say we didn't challenge the coaches, but both of our take on Friday morning, this game was a lot on the coaches because these were 2 very, very similar teams, and South Carolina looked a lot better.
Yeah, they out-coached them on every single level. Offensively, you could see Dow Loggins scheming up guys getting wide open where Kentucky didn't feel like they were making any adjustments. Defensively, Clayton White had the offensive coordinator's number. They were undisciplined. Kentucky was. You saw South Carolina making plays. It was an overall dominating coaching performance for sure.
So we will, again, we'll get our final thoughts in tomorrow if you want to weigh in tomorrow morning when we come in and kind of wrap that up. And then we'll look ahead. But like I said, as we sit here on Gervais Street, it's a kind of a nice fall morning.
It's blue skies.
Blue skies.
Cars are buzzing by.
And cars, yeah. And people are proudly wearing their garnet black. And that's what you want in football. Realistic expectations, you at least want to have a month where you're like, it feels good to be a part of this. It feels good to be involved in college football.
We're here.
Yeah.
We are part of the conversation, and not just because we're undefeated and on top of the SEC, mind you, but we got the biggest show in town coming to our city. No pun intended.
And we'll tell you just how big that might be tomorrow.
I can't wait. I can't wait. You know, this is one of my favorite things to do.
We will tell you how big that might be. Also, great weekend. Kudos to Tony Annan and his team. 2-1 win over Belmont. A 4-game winless, I'm trying to think of how to word it, but 4 straight matches now they have secured a point. First time since 2004 that's happened. Volleyball with a win. 2 great wins. Temple and North Carolina. You had the golf team place 3rd. You had rugby and hockey. What a week.
Great day.
8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Yeah, you're going to probably want to tune in. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. The hot take is going to be so hot, we're going to need the air conditioner working overtime here in the studio. But with AAA Heating and Air, I know that will indeed happen. The way AAA Heating and Air has taken care of the Gunner family, installing that brand new heating and air unit last year, by both the professionalism of putting it in, the cleanup afterwards, the explanation of how it would help save the family money. You need to contact AAA Heating and Air. Roy and Dana Finley, the job they do, absolutely second to none. And right now, not only are they doing an incredible job, they're offering an incredible deal. If you make a brand new heating and air purchase today, you'll have no payments and no interest until September of 2025, a full 12 months. No heat, no interest, no payments. So call AAA Heating and Air today.